Hey kids, Mr. Lears here. Today we're going to learn about one of my favorite artists. His name is Pierre Mondrian, or you can say Pete Mondrian, whatever you'd like. There is an example of one of his artworks, and let's start by taking a closer look at some of his artwork, and then we can talk about it. He was a Dutch artist, and he lived from 1872 to 1944. He was one of the first artists ever to make abstract art. Now, if you remember, abstract art isn't a picture of person, place, or thing. It's just lines, shapes, and colors. Hey guys, take a look at this. Actually, take a look at this artwork right here. What kind of lines do you see in this picture right here? Okay, well, I'm looking at it right now, and I see vertical lines. If you've never heard the word vertical before, vertical means up and down. So I see up and down lines. I also see sideways lines. Sideways lines are called horizontal lines. Okay, and I see most of those lines look to be about the same thickness. Okay. So let's take a closer look at lines. There's all different kinds of lines, guys. Some, like this one, like I said before, are horizontal, and some are vertical. That means up and down. We got zigzag lines that we can use in our artwork. Wavy lines, and these are more like zigzag lines, and swirly lines. So there's all different kinds of lines, okay? So there's all different kinds of lines. And remember these different kinds of lines because maybe you'll use them in your artwork later. Here's another one of Piet Mondrian's paintings. What kind of shapes do you see in this artwork by Piet Mondrian? Okay, take a close look. I see squares, all different kinds of squares. I see small squares and big squares and medium-sized squares. I also see rectangles, small rectangles, and big rectangles. If you look at this empty space right here, this is called negative space in the artwork. All these little squares that go around leave a big rectangle right here. We see some skinnier white rectangles right here and really little white rectangles here. Do you see any other shapes? There's lots of different kinds of shapes, guys. There's squares, rectangles, triangles, circles, pentagons, hexagons, and there's even more. Okay, take a look at this artwork by Piet Mondrian. Take a close look at this artwork. What colors do you see? I'm looking at it right now too with you. I see red, I see blue, and I see yellow. Okay. I see black lines and black shapes. I also see white shapes as well. Okay. Okay. That's pretty much all the colors, red, blue, and yellow. Now, red, blue, and yellow are called primary colors. That means first. Primary colors is what it's called. So you can't mix to make these colors. You need these three colors to mix to make all other colors of the rainbow. Let's make our own Mondrian artwork. Okay, so this is what you're going to need for today. You are going to need crayons and markers if you have them, but we don't need all the colors because like Piet Mondrian, we are only going to use primary colors and then black and white. Okay. So if you don't have those supplies ready, what you can do is you can go ahead and organize your supplies. Make sure you have a piece of paper. If you don't have both crayons and markers, use whatever colors you have. I'm just telling you, these are the colors that I'm going to use for this lesson today. I'm going to make my lines mostly with crayons because crayons are made of wax. And then I'm going to color in my shapes with markers because that's made with water. Okay, there's a lot of water in marker colors, and wax and water don't mix. So you can color right over a crayon line with a marker and nothing will happen to that crayon line, which is why I'm using those two art tools today. But you can use whatever colors you want and use whatever kind of paper you have. It's whatever you have, just use that. Okay, so go ahead and get your supplies ready. We are going to start really, really soon. Okay. Okay, everybody, so we are going to get started right now. Make sure you have paper and something to color with or something to draw with today. I'm going to start by using a crayon. And the first thing that I am going to do is I am going to start by adding 2 or 3 rectangles, however you want. They can touch or overlap or not even come near each other. It's up to you. So I'm going to start by drawing with my crayon the shape of a rectangle or square, and I'm actually going to overlap a little bit. You see how one rectangle goes over the other one? You can do that on your paper. You don't have to. And I think I'm going to add a 3rd rectangle right here that then goes off paper. Okay, so why don't you take a moment right now to add 2 or 3 rectangles to your artwork. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, hopefully by now you've at least added 1 or 2 rectangles or squares on your paper. We're going to switch to lines now. So for lines, we're going to start with vertical lines. Now it's the same kind of rules to create this very simplistic, abstract artwork with primary colors. Now remember, we're just expressing the way we feel with line, shapes, and color, like Mondrian. Okay, so 2 or 3 vertical lines, and I want to show you first, before you get started, let me show you where I'm going to put my vertical lines. I'm going to start by making a really short one right here, and then a really long one right here. Now remember, vertical lines go up and down, okay? Not sideways, not diagonal, only up and down, okay? I think I'm going to add another vertical line here and another vertical line that's going to stop right there, and another vertical line. Whoops, I'm moving the whole screen. Look out. Another vertical line right here. Okay. All right. And I think that's all the vertical lines I'm going to add right now. Why don't you take a moment to add your vertical lines to your paper, just vertical up and down lines. Go ahead and do that now. Now I'm using black for my color. You don't have to. use black for yours, but I'm trying to use the colors that Mondrian uses as well. Okay, go ahead and add vertical lines to your paper. Do that now. Okay, so hopefully by now you've added 2 or 3 vertical lines. And remember, vertical means up and down. We're going to switch to horizontal lines for our next set of lines. Now, remember, when you are creating or drawing lines on your paper, it's okay if they cross each other or overlap or intersect each other. That's fine. You can add your lines, and if they're touching, that's okay. If they're going over each other, that's okay. All right, so let's start. Why don't you watch me do it first? And I'm going to start by adding, well, I need to move my face out of the way. I'll move it down. I'm going to start by adding a horizontal line next to my big rectangle up there. Then I'm going to put my video back up there. Now that's out of the way. Okay, I'm going to add 2 more horizontal lines that start here, across. See how some of the lines are touching and crossing over each other? That's okay. You can do that, or you don't have to do that. That's fine as well. I'm going to add another vertical or horizontal line right here. It's going to go across and it's going to stop right there. And then I think I'm going to draw another horizontal line in between these, and another horizontal line right there, and another horizontal line up here. Okay, so why don't you take a few moments to add some horizontal lines to your artwork, your very simplistic, very easy, abstract artwork. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now we are going to, I'm going to give you a chance to add whatever kind of lines that you like. Now, remember, the lines can cross each other, they can overlap, that means go on top of each other. They can stop when they hit another line, or they can just go right through it. It's up to you. Now, one line, remember we talked about all the different kinds of lines, like zigzag lines and diagonal lines, and vertical and horizontal. You get to pick what kind of lines you want to add for your next set of lines that you're about to draw. I'm going to start by adding some diagonal lines. Now, diagonal lines don't go up and they don't go sideways. They go at an angle like that, diagonally. So I think I'm going to start by adding a diagonal line right here. I think I'm going to add another diagonal line right through there. And I'm going to add maybe a zigzag line. Kind of like the letter M that I just drew. Let's see. There was the wavy line. I think I'm going to stick with straight lines. I'm going to stick with zigzag and diagonal lines. Okay. So why don't you take a few moments and add at least 2 or 3 of whatever kind of lines you want. I would stick with straight lines, like zigzag lines and diagonal lines. Why don't you go ahead and do that now? Okay, everybody. So just to make sure that our lines are visible, that means you can see them, are visible after we're done coloring everything, I would like to take a few moments right now to retrace our lines. And instead of having thin lines, we're going to have thick lines. For example, watch how I'm retracing all my lines over and over again to make them nice and dark. I do this for all the lines that I've drawn so far. This is important because after we add color, we don't want to accidentally color over our lines that we've been practicing and making. Then all of our hard work, you won't be able to see it anymore. Okay. So why don't you take a few minutes and start retracing your lines as well. Now, I'm not finished. I'm going to be working with you right now. You can go ahead and start retracing your lines and making them nice and thick. Oops, I missed one. I don't know why the music keeps turning off. I'm going to try and fix it real quick. There we go. Okay, about 30 more seconds, and then we're all done with lines. We're going to start adding colors. And like Piet Mondrian, I'm going to be using primary colors. Okay, so while you finish up your tracing your lines, I just want to talk about adding the colors. Now, here are the rules that I'm going to use for adding colors. We're going to color inside the lines, and that means when you run into another line, I want you to stop coloring and then switch colors. All right. For example, see, now I'm done with crayon, I'm switching to marker. Okay, let me just check to make sure the marker is where I want it to be. And I'm going to start with red for my first color. Okay. Now I'm going to be using primary colors. If you remember what primary colors are the ones that you start with. You can't make primary colors. You have to start with those, and then you can mix to make other colors. Today we're going to focus on just primary colors. Okay, so I'm going to start by coloring in around. I like to go around the edges first. When I start coloring, I'm going to make my marker a little bit thicker. Okay, so I'm going to start with the color red. If you would like to start with the color red as well, you can do that too. If you don't have red, maybe use a color that's like it. I'm going to make this rectangle over here red. Okay, I'm going to make a third shape red. I think probably this one right here. Now you guys see how I don't color outside of that shape. So I'm going to leave shapes for adding more colors later on. This triangle over here, I'm going to make that one red. Okay, so why don't you take a moment to add the color red to 3 or 4 or even 5 of your shapes. All right, go ahead and do that now. All right, let's switch some colors. I'm going to switch to yellow. You can do the same if you would like. I'm going to switch to yellow right now and start adding color to 3 or 4 or even 5 of the shapes. And you can just pick them at random. I'm going to start with this trapezoid over there, and I think I'm going to make this big rectangle. Now look, I just ran into a line, so I'm going to stop and go around the edges. I don't want to color through into that next shape. I want to leave that for another color. Or maybe even I might just leave it white. Okay, so that's 2 shapes. I want you to do like 3, maybe even 5. It's up to you. And once again, I'm using primary colors right now. this right here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I want to take a few moments to add the color yellow to 3 to 5 of your shapes on your artwork. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to add yellow to some of your shapes in your abstract artwork. We're going to continue and we're going to add our last primary color, and that would be blue, if you haven't had a chance. If you don't have the color blue, that's fine. Just pick the color that's similar. Kind of looks like it. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add color blue to 3 or 5 different shapes. And then I'm going to leave some shapes white. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Need one more. I think I'm going to make a few of my shapes black as well. Now, black and white are not primary colors. They're neutral. They're in the middle. Okay, why don't you take a few moments to add blue and maybe a couple of black shapes to your artwork. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, everybody. If you didn't finish this right now, that's okay. You have all week to work on this whenever you have time. I just want to thank you for logging in and watching this asynchronous video during your asynchronous week. I hope you had fun learning about Pierre Mondrian, or maybe Pete. It depends on how you want to pronounce it, Pete Mondrian, and learning about abstract art and primary colors and the different kinds of lines that we learned about today: vertical, horizontal, diagonal lines, and primary colors: red, yellow, and blue. And if you remember, primary colors are the ones that you can't mix and make. They are the ones that you start with and you mix them to make all other colors of the rainbow. Like I said before, if you didn't get a chance to finish this, you can do it up. You can finish it over the next week. Don't forget to bring it to class to show me. I love seeing your finished artwork. And remember, when you are in class, feel free to, or our live Zooms, feel free to unmute and say, hey, Mr. Virus, check out my artwork at any time. you would like during that Zoom meeting. I always love seeing your artwork. I hope you had fun. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.